evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Out of the Vault for March 2015. If you need to catch up, there is always going to be a playlist provided for you in the box below. Being that it's March, we are not going to be taking a look at Cinderella, because a lot of you are probably expecting me to go out and see that movie, but there's a very good chance that I may not, so I really don't want to review that movie until I can actually see the live-action one, so I can put a little bit of my insight on both of these films and see if the live-action one really does stand up to the Disney classic. But because the Oscars passed us by about a week and a half ago, I felt that it would be appropriate to really talk about a specific Disney movie, because of the fact that it was my very first theatrical viewing of a movie. It was in 1985 when I went to see Disney's 17th animated classic from 1961, and that is 101 Dalmatians. I know that a lot of you that are watching these are much younger than me, but the way that Disney tried to preserve its films, especially to pass it on to the next generation, because of the fact that it was so different from a technological standpoint and it wasn't easy to crank movies out on DVDs or Blu-rays, they would actually show Disney films in theaters. So when I was younger, I actually got the opportunity to see a lot of Disney classics. I got to see movies like Bambi and Lady and the Tramp and Peter Pan, so I was glad to actually have gotten the experience to see these films on the big screen. And then, of course, I did see a lot of the other Disney films on the big screen for the first time. Is it crazy to believe that I actually saw The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, and The Lion King when they were first released in theaters? But enough about how old I am compared to a good portion of my viewers. So in 1985, I got to see 101 Dalmatians on the big screen. Does this movie still hold up to the way that I felt about it? Yes, this movie is one of my all-time favorites, and this is not because I am biased. I have mentioned that The Aristocats was a B-rated version of this movie, but I'll explain to you why this movie is just so much fun. This is also a very interesting movie because it is the second film that takes place in the modern era. The first one was Dumbo. It took place at the right time of 1940s, so 101 Dalmatians takes place in the late 1950s, early 1960s. It's the very first time where Disney classics actually featured televisions. It was also a very interesting film because it was the first time that Disney used something called xerography. It was a cheaper animation style rather than the hand drawings, and this was also the time where Disney had started falling into a small hole, but nobody knew what it was going to actually turn into after the 1980s and the passing of Walt Disney. This was the kind of technology that gave people the opportunity to make easy animated copies of characters, and since there are so many dogs in this movie, the use of that technology, which was definitely ahead of its time, was a good and positive tool to use for the animation. It made the animation look a little bit crude, but the good thing is everything that goes along into this movie, you don't even second guess this more inexpensive animation style of film. The real magic in this movie is the dogs. Pongo and Purdy are a typical story of boy meets girl in the world of dogs, and I love the fact that Disney has these characters looking at the human race as their pets, and it's their job to make the world go round. They set Roger and Anita, their masters, up together. They got married so they could live together, and they gave birth to 15 adorable little puppies. I mean, I thought it would be nice to really see every single one of the puppies get a personality, but a good portion of them do, and we got characters like Patch, Penny, Lucky, Rolly, and they're all distinct. They all have their own adorable personalities, and every now and again throughout the movie, each of them does have something to say, and I think that's really what makes this movie so lovable. And even though it's got a whole bunch of talking puppies, I mean, the story is definitely more of a mature story if you really think about it, because it's a story of the puppies being kidnapped by someone who I'm going to talk about in much more detail. And then it's just a story of adventure and survival for their parents to find their puppies and bring them back home. And it's amazing that these moments in the movie, when it comes to them being rescued and surviving and traveling back home, you see the struggles, but you see the love and the heart that their parents have for them, and the love that they all have for each other, and that's why they managed to get their happy ending. I mean, yeah, you can call this a spoiler, but if you've never seen 101 Dalmatians before, there is something morally wrong with you people. people. But now let's get into the villain, who happens to be, to me, one of the most well-written villains in all of Disney classics, and that is Cruella de Vil. This woman is a crazy maniac, but at the same time she is smart, but she is obsessed with material goods. While you take a look at Roger and Anita, they have each other and they don't care. She just wants more, and more, and she's gonna do whatever she possibly can to get what she wants. But she's not dumb. She's not like the Madame Medusa in The Rescuers. This woman's got a brain in her head, and she's quite manipulative of her people that are following her. This movie has everything you could possibly want. That typical Disney magic because of the dogs talking, but you've also got so much excitement, so much comedy, so much great character development, even though it's such a quick-moving movie. You're just gonna really enjoy 101 Dalmatians, and I'm just so happy to know that, to this day, it still holds up. It's still one of my all-time favorite Disney classics, and I would recommend 101 Dalmatians to any Disney fan, and this one's getting 4 out of 4 from me, no doubt about it. I have to get this movie on DVD. So that's it, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'm always looking forward to reviewing another Disney classic every month, so I'll see you in the next one, and actions speak louder than words.